Live from San Diego. Stop the pipeline.
All right, let's round it back up. Thank you all for the fine picture. All right, back to positions. We have more speakers. All right. So one thing I forgot to mention is that our speakers are going to be held to a give or take 3-minute time limit. Mayor Filner did a fabulous job of actually holding to that without me even saying so. But just in case any of these other fine and very well distinguished speakers do not, I will give you the signal and you can help me usher them from the stage with raucous applause. All right. Our next speaker comes from my old alma mater of Scripps Oceanography. Have you ever heard of a weather person or even some other offbeat PhD saying something rather offbeat about climate change, particularly that it's not there? If you do, remember that that degree in meteorology, broadcast journalism, or whatever the heck PhD, isn't necessarily enough for you to take them at their word on climate science. Our next speaker does have a very legitimate vantage point from which to speak on climate science. Dr. Jeff Severinghaus is a professor of geosciences at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, where he directs the Climate Ocean Atmosphere program and runs a very successful laboratory fraught with numerous awards, graduating students, and insightful publications. He studies ice cores to understand how climate has changed in the past and what those past changes might mean to our current climate. He is a true climate scientist. Welcome aboard. I had a question to kind of phrase this. Can you tell us why climate change is the biggest challenge facing humanity, and why is the Keystone Pipeline so bad? Perhaps in under 3 minutes or so. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. All right. Well, the reason why it's the biggest challenge facing humanity is that it happens slowly, and this is like the old story of when you put a frog in a pot of water that's being warmed up slowly, the frog doesn't jump out. If you put the frog into boiling water, it jumps right out. So I think that's maybe one reason why it's such a big challenge for us. It's also a big challenge because it's fundamentally an intergenerational problem, and my daughter is actually here today, somewhere over there, and I want to leave a better planet for her, and that's part of why I'm here today. It's a problem that totally tests our institutions. Our institutions were not made to solve this kind of problem because it's global, intergenerational, and a lot of the people who are going to suffer the most are not the same people who made the problem in the first place, and so there's serious equity issues here, and this is something totally beyond our existing set of institutions, and so we need to really step out of the box and start thinking from ground zero about how to deal with this problem. I like to say that there's no such thing as Republican physics or Democratic physics. Physics is physics, and that's probably the right place to start talking about this issue, because it is probably, at its heart, the most apolitical issue you can imagine. It's really just about cleaning up after ourselves, and it has an awful lot in common with sewage treatment, really. About 150 years ago, sewage treatment was political, and a lot of conservatives said that cleaning up sewage would wreck the economy. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Well, you know what? Nobody talks about sewage treatment now in those terms, and yet it does consume something like 0.5% of our economy, a non-trivial figure. And a lot of estimates are that we can clean up the CO2 problem with about maybe 0.5% of our economy. So this is something that can be done. It's just lacking the political will right now to do it. And I fully believe that 100 years from now, we will look back and say, what was all the ruckus about? CO2 is just like sewage. It's something we just routinely clean up after ourselves. And the technology exists to do this. So, what am I going to say in my 3 minutes? Well, I think an obvious step forward is to put a price on carbon. Right now it's free to use the atmosphere as a polluting ground. And so I think Jim Hansen has it right when he says we just need to slap about a $10 or $20 a ton price on carbon and have it go up every year, because companies like predictability. Companies need to know what the future is going to be like. And they say they would rather have a carbon tax that's predictable than to have the current state of unpredictability and uncertainty, because that's actually bad for business. So what we need, and I heard that Senator Boxer introduced legislation just a few days ago to put a $20 a ton tax on carbon. So if you like to write letters, write to Senator Boxer and tell her that we have your back. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. And boy, these guys good. 258 on the mark. My gosh. Boy, is that easy. All right, thank you, Jeff. Oh, yeah, Jeff, if we could get one more thing from you. We've put 2 ribbons on a tree way back there. I don't suppose you could tell us a little something about what that might mean.
Ah, yes. So if you turn around, you can see there's some red ribbons around that tree there. And those ribbons, the bottom one shows you where the sea level is going to be 100 years from now if we keep on the current course. So that's the best guess. That's about 3.5 feet above mean high tide. So that is actually something that's going to happen, very likely. So you can, and then the red ribbon above it is another 3 feet up, and so that's like sort of a worst-case scenario, say during a storm surge or something like that. So that just brings home the reality of sea level rise. We know that Antarctic glaciers are melting right now. My students have actually measured the temperature using a thermometer in a borehole in the ice, and they can actually see the current warming in the form of the temperature difference between the surface and 1,000 feet down. So it's fully 1 degree warmer at the surface than it is 1,000 feet down. There's probably no more visceral way to experience global warming than to actually see that temperature difference today. So West Antarctica is going to be melting, and sea level is therefore going to be rising.
That's a hard thing to clap at, but yes, thank you. Such is the tone of our cause. All right, so our next speaker is Reverend Dr. Beth Johnson. She is a minister of the Palomar Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Vista. Her church sponsored the first Earth Charter Community Summit in San Diego. She is an eco-feminist and humane advocate. Welcome, Reverend.
I'm used to having to adjust the mic. I'm happy to be here to add my voice to the voices of the many religious leaders and communities whose faiths compel us to witness on behalf of Earth, to call on President Obama to robustly support climate action, including saying no to the Keystone XL pipeline. Clap for that. Everything is connected, and everything is at stake. In this interdependent web of existence, our actions matter and bodies count. Our bodies, animal bodies, the earth body. And I want to give a shout out to those who put their bodies on the line in acts of civil disobedience for this most urgent cause. And friends, may we do likewise when the time comes. You know, for a long time, us humans, some of us humans, have lived as if we're separated, isolated beings, belying the irrefutable fact of our interdependence within the living system from which we emerged, upon which we depend, to whom we are responsible, Gaia, Earth. Now, some of us have woken up to the fact, but you know how hard it is sometimes to wake up to hard facts. Many are still estranged from the earth, and this estrangement is making us sick. It is killing us. It has made us, humans and otherwise, sick in body, suffering from the effects of the despoilation of the earth, including the pollution of lands and waters, the effect among the poorest of us that would result from this pernicious pipeline. And this estrangement has made us sick in our souls. It causes soul sickness to split from the source of life, to betray our mother, to betray life. You know this. What is done to the earth is not only done to us, but to future generations. To place a death-dealing economic system above the living system of earth and the living beings upon it betrays our sacred trust for our species to care for all life. The environment is not an externality. It is not an issue among issues. It is the context for all issues. The Earth system, the Earth species, and our very souls. Everything is connected, and everything is at stake. And you know this. It's your passion, your witness, and your commitment that brought you to this place, and will bring you to all the other places of protest and witness. By gathering, we hope, by thousands and thousands around the country, we let it be known that we, the masses of the people, lovers of Earth and defenders of life, insist that this president move forward on climate action. We will stop the Keystone XL tar sands pipeline. And we will not stop there. We will keep on moving forward because everything is connected and everything is at stake. And we will continue to be brave and bold and passionate, justice-seeking people because this is an issue of justice. And we're going to keep on defending Earth like our lives depend on it because they do. And so are souls. Look around. You are not alone. There's a love at work here that won't let us go and won't let us off.
And I have to open up. Excellent. All right, so now that we've had a few good speakers telling us both the science and the soulful implications, we are now going to have a singing telegram to the president from the Occupella groups of Women's Occupy. To be introduced by Evie Kosovo.
We are the Occupellas from Women Occupy San Diego. We spread our message through music and reword familiar tunes to express the injustices that we want to change. We have a singing telegram for President Obama.
Bringing dirty oil if they come. Take a pipeline through the country if they come. They'll be bringing dirty oil to pollute our water and soil. They'll be bringing dirty oil if they come. It ain't over for the climate if they come.